Well, here we are. We're back. It's today is September 9th, and we had a wonderful time overseas, and we could shot a lot of good video, and we're actually putting together some of the clips now, and we'll put up a little quick video about the trip to Italy and this amazing wedding we went to. But today I want to talk a little bit about the some of the sales that are coming up. As we talked about all summer, it's quiet in the summer, and then in September, bang, it takes off, and everything is going on. It's Asia Week, of course, in New York coming up very soon, and Sotheby's, Christie's, Bottoms, everybody's got a sale. Freeman Hindman has a sale, and Doyle has a sale. And today we're going to talk about the Doyle sale. It's a nice auction. There's about almost 650 lot sale over 2 days, starting on the 16th and running to the 17th of September down in New York. And I had a nice conversation this morning with Richard Cervantes there. He talked about some of the lots of the sale that I had missed a couple of things that he pointed out to me. I'm going to talk about them. One of them is an extraordinary China trade gold necklace set that's in the sale with all the provenance and the history. If you're a China trade collector, you're going to want to watch that. And there's some other great things, some Japanese things as well, some very good porcelain, some nice paintings. It's a very well-rounded sale. And a very nice Buddha that appears to be Korean. That's a fairly large one, about 17 inches tall. We'll get to that. So let's get into it, okay? We're going to sort of hit the ground running here. There's a lot to go over, and we'll be doing more videos this week. I'm going to try to turn out quite a few to get everything caught up, because I didn't do a video last Friday, as many of you know. We were in between things, and we had really bad Wi-Fi over there, the area where we're in. It wasn't terribly reliable, to put it mildly, and we just couldn't do the weekly video. So we'll be getting caught up this week. But right now we're going to talk about the Doyle September 16th and 17th sale. And there's a lot of stuff in here. I can't go through all of it because there's so much of it. But do take the time to go through it. You have a week or so before the sale, so you have time to get information that you need, get registered. And as I've said before, if you're going to be spending any sort of, getting into thousands of dollars, register on the Doyle site and bid directly through them. You'll save a lot of money. In many cases, it'll help very much offset the cost of shipping versus bidding on live auctioneers. So what do we got? First thing is this necklace set. I'm going to start with this by the studio of Huchong and Canton. Dates to the Daoguan period. They have letters in with this is the entire history of this necklace set. And down here, it was given to an American commander. Long distinguished military history, fought in the Battle of 1812, been in the Navy, started the Navy in 1790, and a whole lot of other great information in here about it and how they came to have this necklace set. It was a gift from a very close family friend. But this is it. It's an absolutely spectacular piece of gold China trade. This absolutely beautiful work, very, very finely cast. There appears to be some very nice filigree work thrown in there and so forth. Has its original case, and the case looks brand new. The case is in pristine condition, which is very rare with these because the cases were often lost. It has the label of the silversmith that made it, letters and so forth, and correspondences surrounding it. They even have the telescope of the commander himself that was passed down through the family. And all of this, they were from Burlington, New Jersey, and all of this has stayed in the family since then. Apparently, this is coming from the family itself. So it's got a lot of historic stuff. So if you're a history collector and you like China trade, you definitely want to check this lot out. It's quite something. And here's something. There's a seal and so forth. And this is it. There's framed letters and of course the necklace set. And it's estimated at $20,000 to $30,000, which I think is reasonable. If you want to make a donation to a China trade museum near you, this is a great thing to buy because it's fully documented. Great looking piece of China trade, dated to about 1832 is when the gift was made. So they know all that. All right. And then right after that is this. It's an album of paintings from the Sun Qua studio in the 19th century, middle of the 19th century. And it's of Chinese ships and junks and so forth. Here they are. And they've got the classic, and it's a full folio. I think there's a dozen of them in here. It has the light blue banding outlining each picture and so forth. And the pictures look to be in quite good condition. These are pith paintings. And I don't see any cracks or damage to any of them. They all look to be in wonderful shape. And the estimate is pretty reasonable. And it has the Sun Qua label. This is very important for those of you that collect China trade. It has the name of the studio where they did it. And Sun Qua ran one of the most famous studios in Canton, a very, very famous studio. Estimated at $2,000 to $3,000, $1,000 opening bid. Absolutely worth it. This is very unusual to find it with the Sun Qua sticker, and all of them are in good shape. I don't see any cracks or damage to them. As you know, pith paintings are very prone to cracking, so that's a good lot to score for your collection if you are a China trade collector. And then over to this is an interesting book, a noted porcelains of successive dynasties, and comments and illustrations by Xin Yuan Pin. And this is an absolutely great looking book. And these are those sewn books that they did back then. Nice looking covers. There's a note on the inside, 1937, when it was gifted to somebody. And you go through, and it's got all these great illustrations. This beautiful tea dust glazed garlic neck vase with writing in English and in Chinese, of course. So you can read it. You're not stuck just looking at Chinese characters if you're not a Chinese reader. You can actually go through it. It's a very rare book. $1,000 to $1,500 estimate, $500 opening bid. It is if you're a collector and you like early reference books with early illustrations, this is a good one. The colors look to be quite good, and the book itself is in beautiful condition. All right, and then over to this very attractive pair of Chinese Imari porcelain pots with covers. They had been sold previously at Christie's some years ago in 2006, lot 375. They're 8.5 inches tall. These are really pretty porcelains. These are really, really, really pretty. The form you'll recognize, of course. It's a form that they did, but they didn't do it very often in the Imari palette. In the gilding and all of the enamels look to be in really good shape, which is unusual for these. These kinds of pots got used, and often they were damaged and chipped and nicked and rubbed, and much of the detail gets lost. These are very, very, very pretty pots. Now, they're dating them just as first half of the 19th century. To me, based on the bottoms and the decoration and the way they're done, I suspect these are probably Kangxi period, 1715, 1720, somewhere in there. They look that way to me. They don't look like Yongshen work, but they do much more look like Kangxi work. So in the form in particular. So these are wonderful. $2,000 to $3,000 estimate, $1,000 opening bid. These are nice things. These are rare. These are sort of rare types. And if you think about it, when was the last time you saw a pair of these sort of pots in this form with that color palette? It's very unusual. Very, very unusual. And then over to these nice water pots, bronzes. They just stated them as Qing Dynasty. They look to be either late 18th or early 19th century, but very nicely done and rather atypical the way the beasts are done. They're about 6 inches long or so. They're decent size. They look to be in great condition. They're very nice patina. The color on these is quite good. I really think, and the details are very good too. Here they are. All right. But nice surface on them, nice old surface on them. I don't see any damage. They haven't been rubbed or polished or fooled with in any way, which often happens with these, of course, as you know. But these look quite excellent. And they're estimated at $2,000 to $3,000. Again, $1,000 opening price, opening bid on them. They've got a little bit of interest already, 6 bidders. But these lots pick up a lot of bidders as the sale nears. One of the things that Rick mentioned to me this morning on the phone is that DOYLE is no longer selling on invaluable. So it'll make it easier for you if you're bidding here or you're bidding on the DOYLE site. You can always come back here and you can gauge interest by how many bidders lots are picking up. And you can get some idea of the action you might face if you're going to place bids on them. But as I said, do just try to register at the DOYLE site and buy through them directly. Save yourself some money. And then over to this. These are very unusual. They've listed these as transitional to early Qing Dynasty, Flambe or Wucai rather, double gourds. And these are quite unusual and they're big. These are, I think they're 17 inches tall each. They're not small double gourds. Excuse me, they're 22 inches tall, so they're almost 2 feet tall a piece. Very, very interesting. But if you look at the bottoms of them, these look like they don't look like any later than probably around 1670s or so. The bottoms of these very similar to what you see on transitional wares, as a matter of fact, with the broad flat bottom, and you can see some of the turning lines in here. and so forth. But the enamels are in wonderful condition. That's the thing with these. The enamels, the surface on these looks to be quite excellent. Of course, with all porcelains, you always want to get condition reports if you can. But the fineness of the details on these is quite excellent, I think. But they're atypical, so they may not draw as much attention as pieces that you can readily look up and compare prices and get a sense of value. These are not the kinds of pots you're going to find in very many auction results around if you go looking these up. And right now they're estimated at $2,000 to $4,000, which I think is pretty reasonable for these because they're very, very unusual. These are the kinds of things that you have to really decide if you love them, and then you chase them. Because you're not going to find comps for them. What I think they're certainly worth $1,800 to $2,500 a piece, in my opinion, because I think they're really interesting and they're big, almost 2 feet tall, very, very large. Visually, they read like they're about 8 inches tall, but in a room, I think they'd be quite something because they're nice and wide and they're double gourds, and double gourds are very desirable. And then there's this Qing, late Ming period ewer. With unglazed biscuit surface of a quilling on it beneath a fungi of some kind. Beautiful cobalt ground on these, nicely potted. Of course, these are based on early Ming forms. And there's the other side of it. And if you flip it over, there's the bottom. Looks fine. And I should point out, these came from the Jade Dragon, who was those of you that haven't been around for very long, if you maybe have not been collecting for a terribly long time, Jade Dragon was a big show dealer. They were from Michigan. They handled some great things. And that we've seen things from Jade Dragon before come out. The founder, the gentleman that ran it, passed away some years ago. But I believe his wife is still around, and they still have some things in storage. I think they're slowly selling off things as time goes along. And but they had an exceptionally good reputation among collectors and dealers. Over the years, they handled some very, very, very fine things. They were able to get things out of some of the old automotive estates, the Dearborn, Michigan estates, and that sort of thing back in the day when they were big buyers of Chinese art. One of the best pieces of Chinese art I've ever owned came from the Dearborn area. And this is where they were based. I didn't buy it from them, but this is where it came from. Anyway, this is a wonderful looking pot. It's estimated at $1,500 to $2,000. I think it's very pretty. I think it's an elegant, very, very pretty pot. And I love the form. And the starting bid on it is just $750, which I think is very reasonable. It's a very, very pretty piece of porcelain. And then this is a rather dazzling piece of Chinese transitional ware. And I think the estimate's very low, and I don't know why the estimate is low. You have to call in and get a condition report or something. It looks to be perfect. I don't know why. It's 9 inches tall, but the colors on it are quite dazzling. I think the colors on this are excellent. And all of the enamels appear to be in great shape. You got a quillin down here at the bottom. You have the ascending phoenix. You have these very, very nice leaf patterns around the top. A little bit of cracked ice around the shoulder of the vase, and so forth. Then you have these very large rocks and palm trees and so forth on the back. This is a very pretty piece of transitional ware. It really, really is. Rather unusual. I don't think it's in the Butler book, but there's the bottom of it. It looks absolutely fine. I see some nice wear on the edges of the foot. It looks completely straight up period piece, estimated at just $700 to $900 with a $350 opening price. It should blow through that estimate. This to me looks like a $1,200 to $1,800 vase, maybe more, because the colors are so good. The colors on this are really strong, very, very powerful colors, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's a good one. All right, and then hopping along over to these. These are nifty. These are pomanders, scent balls on biscuit, and they've been fitted onto these nice stands. The stands are later, I believe, but these are rather nicely done. And if you have books on early biscuit wares from the Kangxi period, you'll find these in here and in there, and they're fairly unusual. They don't turn up all that often. You more often see the figural arrangements, the Dutchman, and all that sort of thing. But these are nice. These are scent holders basically, and beautifully done. Some aubergine, yellow and green and so forth. Very nice senkai colors, sensai work, and the estimates are reasonable. $2,500 to $4,500 with a $1,300 opening bid. They should get there. These are fairly rare. If you like rare Kangxi biscuit wares, these are in that category. These are quite unusual. and they're very nice, and they're decent size. They're not huge. These were never made big. They're not like 7 inches. They're 2 or 3 inches in diameter. But these are the nice size. They're almost 3 inches. They're right in the middle, and very desirable with these great little stands. I love the stands. And then you have this white glazed Qing Dynasty vase. They didn't date it. They're just saying Qing or earlier, and that's because there was a group of. Often these appear in flasks. You'll see these like little moon flasks. They're in this sort of creamy glaze with little handles on them, and they always date them as late Ming to early Qing. There seems to be they're not DOYLE. They're on sort of a semi porcelain body, many of them, and but this is quite a nice one. I like the mask handles on the ends and so forth. Comes with its original box. There's the bottom of that flat foot, probably tips in a little bit, and nicely done, And it hasn't been cut down. That's the right shape for it, and it measures, I think, about 9 inches or so, 8.5 inches in height, and it was bought in Taiwan before 1972. Estimated at just $700 to $900 with a $350 opening bid. But if you're a whiteware buyer and you like soft paste, because these appear almost to be like a soft paste example, and they're incised decorated. I should point that out. They have peony blossoms on one side. On the other side, there's a phoenix carved into the body, which is quite nice. It's like an en-way decoration. There it is in its case, and there's the phoenix right there. And here you can see the tips of the wings and so forth. It's a very, very nice vase. Very interesting. If you like this aesthetic, this is a good vase to buy. And then over to this, a very nice Genroku period fourfold screen. Here it is. I like this a lot because the figures are large, they're overscaled, and the surface has a nice look of age to it. And the figures are all different. They're all pursuing different interests. They're talking among one another and so forth. And this is a good size screen. As I recall, they're about 67 inches tall or something. 67 inches tall, each panel, and probably 2.5 feet wide or so. So it's a decent sized screen. I just like the aesthetic of it. It'll look wonderful, flattened out, hanging on a wall, actually, like a giant painting. Be very, very pretty. But the colors are very appealing, very calm. This is a nice thing. And the estimate is very reasonable, $800 to $1,200. The $400 opening bid. I suspect it's going to go beyond that. I think Japanese screens lately have done pretty well. There seems to be some renewed interest in them. There was a screen recently, I don't know if it was at Smith's or somewhere, that it was estimated at $1,200 to $1,500, and it went for about $7,000 or $8,000. So maybe this market is getting some life. But this is a very attractive screen. There are other screens in the sale too. And then there's this. This is the likely Korean gilt lacquer wood Buddha Amitabha. I talked to Rick about this morning because he was saying, did I think it was Korean? I think it's Korean. Look at the head. It's got that very square sort of square formed head on these that you see typically on Korean pieces, and the hand positions, the way the hat is done. That might have been a crown or something around it at one point. But this is a beautifully carved thing. And this came out of an old house in New York City. He told me where it came from. And it came from a private home, a nice home that had a lot of early things. It was a family, I believe he said they were old Eastern European family. And they had this. This is nice. And it's 17 inches tall. This is a big one. And Korean stuff right now is the really great pieces get a lot of attention when they turn up. And I think this is a pretty nice carving. I think it's a very nice bit of lacquer. And let's see, 17.25 inches, and estimated at $8,000 to $12,000, which I think is very reasonable. Actually, I think it should go well beyond. I think this will go beyond that quite a bit. But the starting price is it's up to $5,500. It's got a couple of bids on it, but it's a nice thing. It's a very, very nice thing. And then hopping over here, here's a whole bunch of coral. If you're a coral buyer, here you go. These sort of very well-known types of mid-20th century coral figures. The estimate is very reasonable. If you've been following coral prices lately, I suspect this will go over that estimate by maybe double. These are pretty nice bits of coral, and these days, any of these larger pieces typically sell for $4,000 to $6,000 by themselves. And you've got how tall are these? The tallest one is 8.5 inches. So these are all pretty good size. The estimate is just 7 to 9,000. It's got 24 people watching it, $3,500 opening bid. But do expect it more than likely to go over. Figure each one of them is probably going to be worth, let's just be conservative and say $3,000 to $4,000 maybe. Maybe the small one might be worth 2,500, but the bigger ones you could easily bring five. So 1, 2, 3, 12, 15, about 50, I don't know, 14 to 18,000. We'll see. Somebody might get a bargain on them too. If you buy them, if you're a dealer, you want to buy them and then split them up and keep the one you like and put the other two back into put the others back into some auction somewhere and probably get all your money back. All right, now over here to this. This is a nifty thing. It's an Edward Farmer desk set. Edward Farmer was a company. It was a company in New York. They were sort of Yamanaka did the same kind of work, but Edward Farmer was famous for making desk sets out of bits of other things. And they did a lot of work with Chinese fragments, Chinese jades, Chinese odds and ends, and they would put together. In this case, they got maybe some coral beads, some jadeite, and so forth, and they made a pen stand with inkwell. And here's the here in the middle. This thing here is where you put the pen rest, and here's this reticulated flower under it. This beautiful gold or gilt-edged piece, and down here you have these carved. They're either carnelian or Beijing glass. I can't tell. And then you have this nice vase with this gilt bronze lid on it, and then a finial. This is a nice looking thing. Beautiful color. Estimated at $1,500 to $2,000. A few weeks ago, we had another Edward Farmer piece that turned up. And does anybody remember? Didn't it bring around $2,500 or $3,000? It did well. I remember it did very well. And I think this will probably do well too. He's a highly collected category of antiques. And he handled some awfully nice things. Yamanaka did the same thing. They would take brush washers or something and retrofit them and put lids on them and silver and jade finials and do all kinds of great stuff. And this is just that kind of work. These were done typically in the 1915 to 1930, I believe. All right, and then over to this bronze incense holder. This is a nice one. It's 8 inches tall. Appears to be 18th century. The details are very, very good. It has been obviously kept fairly clean over the years. They did a bit of polishing at some point, but nicely polished. I don't see a lot of polish collected in all the cracks the way you typically see, which means that after they polished it, they got a very soft bristle brush and cleaned it all out to get it off of there so it didn't harden into the corners. And just so you know, an incense burner like this, if you want it to have a darker patina, just leave it alone for a few years. It'll come back. And if you want to enhance it, speed it up a little bit, if it's got any oil or anything on it, just clean it with simple dish soap and leave it out. And the surface will patinate for you just fine over a couple of years. If you leave it outdoors for a summer, it'll patinate even quicker. Bronze is very reactive to the weather. I have a bronze on my patio that's been out there for years. It looks like it's 2,000 years old. I'm just waiting for someone to steal it, thinking it's much older than it is. But at any rate, this is a nice one. I like the heads. I like the vine decoration. The reticulated area is beautifully done. It's very crisp, and it's complete. The finial on top is still there. It hasn't been knocked off the way they are sometimes. And it's estimated at $2,000 to $3,000 with a $1,000 opening bid. And then over to this very nice Vajrapani figure, the demon. And there's a whole bunch of good bronzes in this sale. If you're a bronze buyer, go check it out. There's a lot of nice small figural bronzes, late Ming to early 19th century, as I recall. There's some very good ones. The gilding on them all looks to be very, very good. This is a nice one. I just like the figure because it has a very strong sense of movement. And it measures 7¼ inches tall, estimated at $4,000 to $6,000. But nicely finished. The gilding on this is in very, very good condition. Very good facial expression. He's got his Vajra in the hands over here, and he's got the conch in the other. It looks like a conch in the other hand, small conch shell or some sort of shell. And down here, he's standing on serpents. This is just a great figure. Any rate, if you like bronzes, go check that out. There's a whole component of them on day one of the auction. And then this is one of the most unusual things I've ever seen. If you like the strange and the unusual, this is it. It's a very nice 18th, probably 18th, maybe early 19th century carved brush pot of the figures in the bamboo groves, like as you can see, obviously. And then somebody fitted it into being a tankard using Chinese bronze mounts. This is a very unusual thing. If I owned this, the only thing I would do is I would have this area underneath cleaned up. It looks like at some point maybe the bronze mount came a little loose and somebody put some glue in there. I'd get that off of there, and so it's a little visually messy. But they probably just did it, someplace to be easy. And down here at the bottom, it needs to be cleaned up a little. But the brush pot itself is excellent. It's a beautifully done brush pot. The very, very good quality, has a nice surface on it and so forth. I just think it's hilarious how somebody fitted a bronze mount handle onto it. There it is. All right, that's very unusual. Really, really interesting. I don't know if it'll hold beer or not. Maybe it's supposed to be like a beer tankard, I guess. You could try it. It's estimated at $4,000 to $6,000 with a $2,000 opening bid. It's already got a bid on it. Not surprised. I think the brush pot itself is probably worth around $5,000, and I think it's worth more because it's got this very interesting Chinese bronze retrofit, and God knows where they got that. What that came off of, I'll never know, because it looks like an old Chinese bronze fitting. And they may have had several fittings, and they worked it out and put them together. But at any rate, this is a fun thing. It's a great thing. And then hopping along over to this is this brush rest, a very nice one. They're calling it Qing Dynasty or earlier. My feeling, it looks like it looks Ming to me, based on the darkness on the ends here and how it's formed, the wave pattern, the serpent head in the middle, and so forth. It looks like it's earlier than Qing stylistically, but and you see this form in porcelain from the Ming Dynasty, of course. So I suspect that's where they're from. But there's some scholars collectors out there I know that watch, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's late Ming or early Qing? But it's a nice looking brush rest either way. Estimated at $600 to $800, $300 opening bid. It's fairly small. I think it's 3.5 inches long or something. These aren't terribly big. 3 3/8 inches, just a little less than 3.5 inches in length. So it's a nice size. It's a nice scholar's object. If you're a scholar's object buyer, it's the kind of thing you want to pay attention to because it's an unusual form, and I think it'll probably do pretty well. All right, but always remember that atypical forms often can be bargains because there are people who bid at auction who don't bid based on their gut. They bid based on what other people have bid before them, and that's a really good way to build a mediocre collection. Always chase the things that strike you. Always chase the things that strike you the most, and it may be something nobody has seen for years or you can't find a comp to. But if you absolutely love it, buy it. You won't regret it in 5 years. All right, and then there's this very nice scroll painting. It's after the Qing Dynasty, Lu Shi, but it's wonderfully done. It has a very almost a Japanese feeling to it. But the flowers and the open reticulated basket down at the bottom is excellent, and it's got panels of script at the top. It's nicely mounted. The mount is later. The mount is a later mount. This was remounted at some point, but the painting itself is quite lovely. If I had this, I'd be very inclined to just remove it from the scroll altogether and have it put into a very nice mat with a frame. You've got lots to work with a frame here without disturbing the picture at all. And because the mount, if the mount's not original, it's not all that significant, I don't think. Anyway, it's estimated just $600 to $800, $300 opening bid. Very, very attractive. And then hopping along over to this, here's another Japanese screen, Edo period. Oh, this is the one that has the racks in it, the robe racks. Here it is. I like this. This is fun. It's got the gilt squares on it and so forth. And then you have this a giant lacquered drying rack, Japanese rack with the textiles hanging over it. And then you have lanterns off to the side. And there's a game board, a go table over here and so forth. And what on earth is that? Is that a bird or some kind down here at the bottom? Some sort of accoutrement. But anyway, I like the lantern. I love the way they put the drying rack in here, the hanging rack for the robes. This is a very interesting screen, and this screen is 67 inches tall, and each panel is about 25 inches wide. So it's how big is this thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 25 is 150 inches. So it's about almost 9, 10, 10 or 12 feet wide, I guess, right? Yeah, it's a big screen. Nice looking though, very attractive. But I like the layout. I like the asymmetrical layout to this a lot. I think it's very attractive. I think the estimate is very reasonable too. $2,000 to $4,000. It's Edo period. It's probably late 18th to early 19th century. And $1,000 opening bid. It's got some people watching it though. It's got 13 bidders watching, but I think it's awfully attractive. And then that's just day one. And then you get over to day two, and there's let's see, the day two ends at lot 641. So there's 641 lots between the 2 days. You have things like this. This very nice flambe glazed garlic head vase, Qing Dynasty, 19th century. Nice color, nice flambe color to it. Beautifully potted, a slightly restrained garlic head on the top. It doesn't swell out like some of them do. It's slightly more refined, but it's absolutely there. And there's this very finely done rolled mouth on it. Nicely tapered up off the body. The potting is quite good on this. And I like the stand also. I think the stand is pretty nifty. It's got roux heads on the bottom. And but the bottom of the vase itself, the way it's done this, to me looks like it's second half of the 19th century. The way it's finished, but it's beautifully potted. Notice how well done the interior of it's been done, cleaned up. Often these monochromes are sort of sloppy underneath. This one isn't. Estimated just $800 to $1,200 with a $400 opening bid, and it's 16 inches tall. Remember, this is one of the big ones, 16 inches in height. So, for my opinion, you can get a piece of flambe ware Qing Dynasty that's that big for with an $800 to $1,200 estimate. I think it's going to go. I suspect it'll go well beyond that. I suspect it'll go $1,500 to $2,000. But we'll see. All these auctions this week are going to be sort of a test of the market. See how the Chinese market is doing because of all that's been going on in the news in the last last 10 months or so. It's been going on, it's been lots of turmoil everywhere now for about 5 years, but so this will be a test of the market. And then there's this very interesting Japanese blue and white vase by Zushi Nishikaneyama, Nishikaneyama Zo. But this is a big vase. This vase is 20 inches tall with horses on it. And everybody knows that been watching for any length of time. They know why we're watching this, because it's got horses. We like horses. And this is a beautiful one. And it's a Meiji period, 1890s to a little after probably, but nicely done all the way around. It's signed on the bottom. And obviously it had a spout or somewhere near to let water out of it. Like the horse's face, they're very expressive. And here's the signature of the artist. And so forth. This is a nice thing. If you're a blue and white Japanese buyer, you do want to look at this. This is a nice signed piece. And this is on the 17th, I should point out. And it's estimated at $1,500 to $2,000 with a $750 bid on it. It's already got a bid on it, and it's got people watching it. So I think it'll do pretty well. Also, there's some very nice jades in there. If you like small jades, handheld jades you can hold in your hand, little animal figures and so forth, there's some nice late Qing and 18th century and late Qing examples in here. They're quite nice. This is an earlier one. It's a plaque with a kirin in it, with enamel mounts onto a pendant, dated to the Ming to the Qing dynasty. I think the jade itself is earlier. I think the enamel work is a bit later, probably 19th century. And somebody worked this very nice jade pendant into it. But it's beautifully polished, nicely cut. Notice the leaves around the edges. They're beautifully trimmed and cut, nice and even. And the finish is quite good. And it's very deep visually. You can see it. It's got some depth going into it to the openwork areas. Estimated at $1,500 to $2,000, $750 opening bid. And then hopping along over to this. This is interesting. This was dated as possibly Marken period, Qianlong. And the work on it, you have to look at this pretty carefully. The quality of the work is certainly very, very good. The gilding looks good. The serpents around the outside are good. This is about a 6-inch dish. This is not a little saucer or like a snuff dish or anything like that. This is a good bit bigger. And it has a nicely done, here's the profile of it. The profile of this is quite excellent, actually. The way it's done. The foot flares out a little, then it comes up and then flares out again at the mouth. And the proportions look very good. The height to width and all that business. And here you have a nice look at the interior, and a startling amount of the gilding is still here. And notice the little details like the trimmed edge of the dish is beautifully finished out. There's some very elegant little features in here that point towards it very possibly could be Marken period. And this very nice, very strong, stout, evenly done squared foot and the chin lung mark in the bottom. But it's awfully good looking. You go look up at some pieces in maybe in some institutional collections. See if you can find another one of these, because I think this is quite nice. $1,500 to $2,000 estimate, $750 starting price. I think it's a very nice thing. It could also be a Qing period where they still use the chin lung marks and so forth. All right, and then hopping over to this is a very nice brush washer with peaches, peach vines going around the outside of it. Very nice color jade, though. Beautiful color and beautifully polished. There's the interior of it. It's a very nice looking washer all the way around. That greenish white jade. But notice the finish. The stone itself is beautifully polished, beautifully detailed, and detailed in the backs and the areas where you're not likely to look very often. But if you did, you'd see that it looked finished. $2,000 to $4,000 estimate and a $1,000 opening bid. And then popping along over to this, a robe, no auctions complete with robe. There's a number of good silks in here. There are also quite a few good paintings. There's some album paintings too, some leaf paintings from the late Qing dynasty, early Republic period. Some really nice ones. And if you've been looking for some nice paintings to frame, go look at the series of paintings in here. There's several lots of multiple watercolor paintings, very nice classical sort of Chinese work, and that you could buy them, get them shipped here, and get them framed. Get a nice looking, nice wall in your library, your living room. All right, and then you have this very nice Qing Dynasty robe. This looks to be in quite good condition from what I could see. The colors are still very, very vibrant. I don't see any gaps. The sleeves look good. The hoof sleeves look good. The cuffs look good on the ends. I don't see any damage to it. You want to double check, of course, as always with silks, for pulls and any indications of possible dry rot in a corner somewhere. It doesn't look to be, because this one, the colors still look so good. I think it's probably been very well cared for. But awfully nice patterning on it, and very good quality, and nice gilt thread on the dragons. It's a good-looking robe. And the estimate, I think, is extremely reasonable, $2,000 to $3,000, $1,000 opening bid. This should bring $5,000 to $7,000, I would think, very easily. And we'll see. It's got 30 people watching it so far, so it bodes well. But this is a heck of a nice robe. If you're a robe buyer, this is a good one. It's very, very attractive. And then hopping along over, this is another one of these paintings by the artist. I don't know this artist, Songji, 18th to 19th century. So he was a late Qing to early Jing period artist, but very attractive painting. I like the scene. I like the scene with all the figures. And I love scenes with lots of activity in it. It's just the one picture, I guess. But very nice colors. I'm looking for staining. I don't see any staining on it anywhere. The figures all look good. There's no tears. The surface is good. I like the tiger over here being attended to. He's being led in. They've got chains around the poor tiger. I hope he bites both of them. And then you have the children and people coming in processions here at the top and so forth. It's a nice painting. It's a good looking, it's very entertaining painting. And it's probably quite large, I suspect. 45 by 33 inches is the sight size of it, not including the frame. So including the frame, you're up around 52 inches by 40 inches. So this is a big painting. And the estimate on it is very reasonable, $1,500 to $2,000, $750 opening bid. Nice looking picture. And then this lot of Blanc de Chine wares, and they call it Blanc de Chine and porcelain articles. What I like the most is this reticulated brush pot. I love that brush pot. I like the double-walled reticulated cup as well, but I think the brush pot is quite attractive, the way it's done. And these Blanc de Chine examples, these DOYLE examples, don't turn up very often. And I like the goose, too. And who sold this? There's a sticker on there, and you can't read it. I bet it's in the provenance. Valen Galleries and Michael Wiesbrod and so forth. Okay, Michael Wiesbrod sold the brush pot, and the peacock was sold by Peter Rosenberg at the old Valen Gallery in Connecticut. And there you are. So you get a nice lot. It's a good-looking lot, $800 to $1,200. I think the brush pot's going to get you to $800 or $900 by itself. So don't be surprised if this goes a bit over the high estimate. But right now, there's only 4 people watching it, so maybe you'll luck out on it. But it should reasonably bring a little more than the estimate. I think probably $1,500 to $1,800. It's good looking too. But the brush pot I think is quite terrific, and that's an early 18th century brush pot. And then over to this very unusual pair of stem cups. I just want to point these out. These are listed as Dewa stem cups, but they have a very blue tinge to them. So it makes me wonder if they are from Dewa, or are they done Qing de Chine in the manner of Dewa, and they added a little almost like Qing bai glaze to them. But these are very attractive and very unusual. These are again one of those unusual things that you're not going to readily find a comp for because of the color. You'll find Dewa cups that look like this, but not with this very noticeable blue tinge to it. Dewa, of course, is always snow white. This is not snow white. This is a very, very pretty, almost light aqua blue. Very, very nice. These are neat cups. I like these a lot. And they're dated 17th, 18th century. They're very small, 2.5 inches tall. These are little tiny cups, but the color is so unusual on these. Worth collecting, $400 to $600 estimate. Very reasonable, $600 opening bid. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is this unusual Jun type Yuan, early Ming. They did these in the later Yuan period, and they did them also in the early Ming. Is this very nice Jun separated food dish with these dividers in them. You don't see these very often. And this one's decent size. It's 7 or 8 inches in diameter. There's the bottom of it. Now it looks like the bottom to late Yuan examples. It could also be early Ming, but the back of it and the way it's done and the squaring of that foot and the form and the unusual aspects of the potting makes me think it's probably Yuan. But if it isn't, it's early Ming at the latest. So there's no exposure there as far as getting by making a big mistake. And there's very few people watching it. Only 2 people watching it. As a $1,500 to $2,000 estimate with a $750 opening bid, and it measures 8 inches in diameter. There it is. But this is quite interesting. It's an unusual form. I guess that's what's attracted me to it. But I like unusual forms and rare shapes. And sometimes, like I said, they don't get any attention and they end up going through the auction for their bargain. But go and check out this sale. There's a lot in here from beginning to end. All kinds of nifty things. Hold on a second. This is some of the Japanese stuff in here. This is day 2, I believe. There's some nice snuff bottles in here. If you're a snuff bottle buyer, go through it. And then you have all these jade finials, little covered things, ducks, animal forms of all kinds, bracelets and pendants, and so forth. So there's a lot of nice little jades in here, and they all seem to be dated properly. Some of them are early 20th century, but they say so. I don't see too much to quibble with here as far as the dating goes. I think they did a good job on the dating and so forth. So it's all worth checking out. All right. So that's it for Doyle's September 16th and 17th. Call them up now. Get on it. This week on things that you're interested in. It's the sale begins in 6 days or so. This. Am I looking at part 2 here? Either way, it's the 16th and the 17th, so it's coming up in about a week. But do check out whatever is of interest to you, and then let them know if you need condition reports or anything like that. And as I said, register to the Doyle site. It's very easy to do. You save yourself 4 or 5% on the commissions, which can add up. Can be significant. So there we are. All right, we're gonna cover the Freeman sale probably tomorrow. We'll try to maybe do it later on today, and then there's some other auctions coming up. We'll talk about those too, and then of course the weekly video later on this week. So here we are. We're back. Glad to be home. Nice to sleep in my own bed after a week away, and hopefully we'll get the video up, and we'll share the trip and show you what we saw and where we went and so forth. And I have to say, Switzerland is spectacularly beautiful. What a place to be, and northern Italy isn't bad either. So here we are. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll be back very quickly with other videos. Okay, bye-bye.